Is it on?
2.
Welcome back. My name is Progressive Soup. My name is Emily Volpintesta. I'm your co-host, also with my other co-host, David Stevenson. And we have Joe Niola as our guest, and we're talking about Bernie Sanders and caucuses 2016. And we're all excited about the election. And I had a question. Our director, in between shows, asked me, why aren't women getting more upset about this discrepancy? Would that be the right word? I mean, how men are still getting paid more than women, equal pay, equal work, equal pay, you know. Roberto, our producer, was saying, you know, back in the day, his mother would have been, women would have been, you know, marching in the streets like the suffragettes, you know, right to vote. And why are women not getting, what does Bernie have to say about that?
Well, first of all, just to start off, Bernie recognizes the inequity.
Right.
And it's unfair.
Right.
And women deserve equal pay with men.
Right. But you were saying
okay. Here's how it started.
Okay. Please
it started a number of generations ago.
Okay.
And the understanding at that time was that the male was the breadwinner for the family.
Right.
Mom stayed at home.
Right.
She took care of the children.
Had the children.
And Dad then went to work, and he brought home the money.
Yeah.
He was the breadwinner.
Right.
Okay.
Women had the children.
This situation worked quite nicely for quite a while.
Yeah.
But what they decided to do, a number of families felt that, well, the house isn't big enough. We want to move. We want to get a bigger house. Maybe we want to move in a more suburban or rural area. But we don't have enough income for that. But if Mom went to work, okay, she then would be able to supplement Dad's income, and they could buy the bigger house.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So what happens is there's more spending power.
Right.
Among the people, and when there's more spending power among the people, what happens? The prices go up. You see? That means eventually those houses in those bigger houses in more desirable areas, they're going to cost that much more money.
Right.
And once again, they're going to be behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
So much so that now she can't quit her job.
Right.
Okay, so now you got male and female in the working place.
Yes.
Okay, there's a change now.
Yeah, and daycare.
And you have, that comes into play too, eventually daycare.
And grandparents aren't home watching the kids, they're in nursing homes.
All right. But it's always been understood that he was the breadwinner and she was simply supplementing, but it's changed.
Yeah.
That's not the reality.
Right.
Although, since it behooves the employers to maintain the old concept of he being the breadwinner and he deserving the larger share of pay, she was kind of kept.
Yeah.
Okay? Even though that's not the reality anymore.
No, women are more educated.
They're more educated.
Yeah.
They are doing just as much in terms of contributing to the company, and therefore they are deserving more. And just recently, I was, what's the word when you go on the internet and you skip around? Surfing. I was surfing
that's
the
right,
net.
surfing the net.
And I came across a little blurb. I don't know if you recall or not, but a number of years ago there was a very popular program called The X-Files.
Yes, David Duchovny. And
there you go.
Been watching that with Kristen. But to your point about it, I'm going to draw just real. Go ahead.
Just let me get
the.
Okay, David Duchovny, and Gillian Anderson.
Yes.
Okay,
they're back.
Okay, they're back to show that she found out that he's getting paid more money than she is.
Oh wow.
That doesn't. I mean. They're both stars of the show. They both made the show. She deserves to be paid the same amount he's getting.
They offered her less. They discussed it. And now
go ahead, talk.
Now she got hers. Now she's she's getting equal money for
She
it.
deserves equal money. How can they try to pull a fast one to begin with?
Well,
but that's the way it is.
Yeah. Well, even like with the Reach Company in the 70s, Suzanne Summers was a big star, and then her husband was like her manager and tried to get her contract to get paid more, and I think she got fired. They wrote her off the show because she asked for too much money. So they got rid of Chrissy and.
Poor Chrissy.
I'm just saying.
But to your point, Joe.
When a woman tries to stand up, they get rid of her.
To your point, Joe, about rising housing prices, and I'll speak to this from my real estate background, is that absolutely, you have women added into the workforce, and which brings up the family income. They can buy a little bit bigger house, and yes, absolutely, the prices of the house rose accordingly along with the people's ability to pay, and that's what it boils down to. How are housing costs determined?
Right.
People's ability to pay.
Right.
So you work to get ahead, and it doesn't necessarily benefit you in the long run.
And people have more kids back
if
then,
she had
too.
decided not to go into the workplace, the cost of the housing would have not gone up to the extent that it did, because it's whatever the market allows. It has nothing to do with the size of the house. Location has a factor. That's a factor because location adds to the desirability of it. But if it's a big house, someplace where nobody wants to live, you can get it pretty cheap.
Right.
If it's a small house in a place where everybody wants to go, it's going to cost more money. So these things, there's no intrinsic value. There's only what the market allows.
You know, and I think as a woman too, we find that I feel as a woman that some women love to stay home and raise their kids, and they love being a homemaker. But I think so much in this society, if a woman doesn't make money, she's not seen a value. Like so much in this culture is like, oh, if you're not making money, then we don't give value to anything that doesn't make money. I feel that as a woman, and I don't think that's right either.
Okay, so they're trying. Okay, there's an attempt to deal with this problem.
Okay.
Because the roles are being redefined now.
Right.
Okay, there used to be the husband and the housewife.
Right.
Now there's the house responsibilities. You have like a house husband now.
Yeah, exactly.
And a housewife.
Yeah.
Okay, well, who determines who's going to be the house husband, who's going to be the housewife? Depends on which one draws the larger income.
Right, exactly.
So if she is capable of now being the breadwinner, and he can stay home,
why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
If he's capable of raising the children, and a lot of these men are. Of course, when it first became, when it first started, he was a bit stigmatized because here he is, with a lot of these women. I think there was a movie made with what's his name?
Michael Keaton.
Mr. Mom.
Well, there was there was another Daddy Daycare. Oh.
Didn't see that, but I know I've heard of it.
Murphy. What's Murphy's first name?
Eddie Murphy.
Oh, it's a good one.
Okay.
Daddy Daycare and what was the one that you mentioned?
Mr. Mom.
And Mr. Mom. Well, all right, let's move away from
It's also partially determined by who wants to do what.
Right.
Because there are men, and a lot of them, that would probably rather be the stay-at-home person.
Yeah.
Not just because the wife has a higher set of skills in terms of being able to earn money, but because some men want to be stay at home, and there's nothing. And that's fine. That's all well and good.
I think so. I believe that's correct. I mean, the roles don't necessarily have to be cast in stone. There should be some sort of flexibility. If you prefer to do this, if you're good at this, I'm good at that. That kind of flexibility adds a tremendous amount to the marriage and also to the upbringing of the children. And when you have situations like that, okay, where you can actually afford to do that, that's fine. But there's a lot of families that can't do that. The two of them have to work, and daycare is important. And equal pay is important. And therefore, the programs that Bernie Sanders is advocating in terms of equal pay, that's really important. All right, and maybe if they could get equal pay, they'll be able to make the necessary adjustments to handle the daycare if they need it. So it all boils down to an improvement in the social situation, and it should also benefit the economy. But that was one of the questions that you had when we were off the air. You probably had a whole bunch of them that I told you to save or asked you to save.
Well, I mean, I can just say too that now you have a lot of single women raising kids by themselves, so they need to be paid well. You have a lot of single parents now, and they don't have that luxury of deciding who, the stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad. Sometimes there isn't another parent that can stay at home.
Women are making their mark, though.
Yeah.
They are. I mean, what is it? General Motors, the CEO of General Motors? Is it Mary something? She's the.
She stepped in at a tough time because there's all kinds of stuff going on there. Right. That she walked into a lot of crises going on at General Motors.
Well, they're touting an electric car now that can do 200 miles on a charge. That is significant.
Yeah.
If you do 200 miles on a charge, that means you get to work and come back again, charge it up again.
Yeah.
But more so than that, I'm looking forward to a time when the large fossil industry corporations are kind of put in their place, so that so that the renewable energy market can grow, and that some wise entrepreneur will come to the conclusion that, listen, if we can put up more charging stations throughout the country, then you're getting you 200 miles on your charge.
Right.
All right. You could stop, all right, at some charging station in the middle of the country. You don't have to just use the car to get back and forth to work. And you'll have a tremendous amount of mobility. And it's not going to affect the fossil industry that much because they may not be making gasoline for cars, but fossil fuels could be used for other purposes. Yeah, and they could be diversifying as well.
Or not at all, or go the way of the dinosaur.
Well, I think this new generation is much more entrepreneurial and forward-thinking, and Bernie should appeal to them if having the bright ideas to get away from fossil fuels, and they're more liberated. We were having that discussion too. Young people today are more liberated and...
Well, Emily, the cost of gasoline has gone down, as you
Way
know.
down, yeah.
And that kind of puts a little damper on the whole sustainable energy movement. All right, because
people are buying more gas.
They're buying more gas, and if they're buying more gas, then it slows down the impetus to improve the energy from wind.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the other one? Wind and solar.
Yeah.
And also, we can get a tremendous amount of energy just if we can somehow or other figure out how to control the tides. You can generate a tremendous amount of electricity from that.
So, if Bernie becomes president, could he control, the gas prices? And
it's not that he can control the gas prices. That's not really what. I don't think he would want to control the economy.
Okay.
All right. That's not the kind of socialism that he's talking about.
Okay.
He recognizes that we are a country of free enterprise. Mm-hmm. All right. He may want to put more emphasis, or maybe he may feel that certain industries should be funded or assisted in some way and others not. I'm sure. I think the gas industry does get a subsidy from the government.
They have for the entire time they've been together. We've had the oil depletion allowance, they don't need it, but it hasn't gone away.
He may not feel that they deserve that kind of a subsidy. He may want to move that kind of subsidy into a more sustainable energy, especially since he's so strongly aware of global warming and the fact that all this fossil fuel going up into the atmosphere is
good for us.
is simply contributing to it. So
the danger is really capitalism run amok, and we talked about this. We touched on this in our show last night about robber barons, the turn of the 19th century into the 20th century, the early 1900s. And we had this. This is nothing new.
Right. You mentioned Taft and Teddy Roosevelt.
Yep, we had Taft and Teddy Roosevelt, two great presidents who were trust busters.
And did they take the land from the Native Americans too, or?
No. We're talking about busting up banks that were too big to fail.
Okay.
And companies that had either a horizontal monopoly, where say one company controls all the pumping of the oil out of the ground, or a vertical monopoly where a company controls the pumping of the oil out of the ground, the refinement, and the sale of the products that comes from that. That's a vertical monopoly. And those things were going on, and you had, like we have today, a huge concentration of wealth amongst a very few people.
Right.
And we had it then, we dealt with it, and we're ready to do it again.
Teddy Roosevelt busted the trusts.
Mm-hmm.
Sinclair Oil.
Yep.
He was able to kind of break them up.
Oh, wow.
Not to be confused with Upton Sinclair, who wrote some great books about
the jungle, the meatpacking plants.
Yeah.
So, he was definitely a man for the people, and a Republican.
Absolutely, back in the day.
Right. So,
just goes to show.
Goes to show you how the ideology morphs over time.
Well, Bernie's will be a president for the people, or would be.
He should be, yeah. Well, he claims to bust up the big banks, to put limits on Wall Street activity.
Right.
Well, those robber barons back then, the neo-robber barons right now are the speculators up on Wall Street.
Okay.
Some of the banking operations. Now
derivatives, derivatives where people aren't they're hedging their bets. They're investing not on the value of a company, but they're investing in movement in the company's stock up or down, and they try to catch it so that they can buy it when it's down and then sell it again when it's up, pushing it back down so they can repeat the cycle.
Well, isn't that illegal?
That's what they call casino
or insider trading.
Well, not insider trading is when there are secrets that are to be maintained, so that it'll be an equal playing field among people that want to invest or not invest or buy or sell within the stock market. So you're breaking the rules, okay, when certain information is disclosed that oughtn't to be. But sometimes they'll do that. They'll disclose the information to a few who will capitalize on that knowledge, make a big hit at the expense of other people.
Oh, okay.
Or what they may do is, and this was really a despicable ploy, people would be involved, let's say, with Bear Stearns. And Bear Stearns would call and encourage people to purchase certain stocks. Okay? They weren't really the kind of stocks that Bear Stearns personnel themselves would purchase. Okay? So, whereas those on the inside would be more interested in stocks that they felt would benefit them in terms of a better return.
Correct. They were more concerned with selling the stocks than selling a quality company.
Right. They were not acting in the best interest of their clients.
Well, that's because they treated them as customers rather than clients.
What can I tell you? But
so Bernie wants a revolution and a completely upend.
Yeah, he wants a political revolution, which will he can't do anything, even if he's elected president, unless he has this groundswell of supporters who are going to stick by their guns.
Right.
When issues come up that have been discussed, that he wants to implement, they have to get on their phones, they got to call their congressmen, they got to call their senators. If worse comes to worse, they've got to march on Washington. He has to be able to open the blinds, show his fellow Republicans and fellow Democrats what's out the window.
Right.
And remind them who they are beholding to, despite the fact that they may already be in the pockets of big money.
And yet it's happened before, and it can happen again. Very simply.
Well, why do you think people were so much more likely to protest back in the 60s? You know, the civil rights movement and the Vietnam War.
Were they? Were they?
Well, I mean, weren't people marching on Washington and Martin Luther King?
It put an end to the Vietnam War.
Right, and the civil rights movement.
Civil rights movement grew when
I'm not sure if maybe we remember things through a different set of eyes when we look back and say, well, back in the good old days.
Well, they weren't good old days, but
people are still doing There's just as much of that going on now as there ever has been. It's nothing's really changed. There's still people that are active, as evidenced by Bernie's campaign.
You know, with the women's movement, right? Women are still getting paid less than men. You know, so you're right. Maybe. And yet
the relative employment situation has improved.
Right.
Back in 1970, it was, I believe, 58 cents that a woman would earn on a dollar compared to a man doing a similar job. And now we've graduated up. I think we're at about 78 cents per dollar, which is not a dollar for dollar. It's not a fair and equitable thing.
Right.
But it's movement in the right direction.
Some corporations believe that it's in their best interest, and it creates a much better working relationship within the company if everyone's salary is disclosed.
Right.
Well, the jury is still out on that one, whether or not it really is something that is going to improve morale in the company and get people to produce more, and that there'll be better relations between co-workers.
Well, part of what's shed light on this is that people generally know what the CEO of a company makes.
Right.
So we can make that comparison between the upper echelon, the management of a company, the management of a company, and the employees, and how that's changed over the last couple of decades, where that gap has widened dramatically, where those few people are making incredibly more money relative to what their employees are earning and being paid. So it's, as you say, disinfected. Shed some light on the subject. Let people find out what's going on and act accordingly. And I think that's what's happening.
I think there was somewhat of an adversarial relationship between management and labor.
Oh yeah, that's normal and natural.
But it doesn't have to be normal and natural, because the Japanese, particularly with their car industry, their thinking was, hey, we're all on the same team.
Yep.
Well, we're competing against another team. You know, we want our Hondas to be better than their Nissans, and Nissans wants their cars to be better than the Mitsubishis, and this sense of teamwork.
Right, yeah. Not this hierarchy.
Seemed to work out better for them.
It's worked in America before, and I think it's working again now, where Henry Ford wanted his employees to be able to drive a Ford. He thought that they deserved to earn enough money in order to buy the product that they were making, so they would put more into those products than they might otherwise. They're more vested in their own company.
Well, that would be the idea, but the employees, Massage Envy can't afford to get massages. I mean, unless we massage each other. But that's a good ideal, but it doesn't happen. You know.
It can.
Yeah.
It can.
Yeah, I think there was some communications company that came out with some kind of costly device that cost like about $700, and the interviewers were surprised at how many members of the company were able to actually afford those devices, whatever they were. Of course, they probably got company discounts and stuff, but the company probably felt it was a good idea to allow them to purchase it because you want to get your product out on the market. You want to get other people interested in it. Lost leads.
Better advertising. What better advertising than to have your employees with the product that they're making, and people see that they like the product that they make well enough to use it themselves. Yeah, what better advertising than that?
And I think with this new younger generation, we're much more entrepreneurial, and pretty soon we won't be depending on an employer to determine what value we have. I think pretty soon young people are going to be deciding what value they have and naming how much money they're going to make.
Right. They don't have the.
That's
You're right. You're right. I don't think I think they realize they don't need to have an allegiance to an allegiance to an employer.
Exactly.
At one time, you're working for IBM, you're all set, you'll have a job for life.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't happen anymore.
Nope.
Depending on what the market is generating will depend on whether or not you have a job.
Right, exactly.
So now people, they freelance.
Yeah.
All right, I'll work for you for as long as I'm satisfied with our working relationship. But if your competitor is going to offer me more, and the benefits are going to be better, sayonara.
Exactly.
So
it's interesting. Times are changing.
They certainly are.
Yeah.
We're going to keep on talking as we run through the last little bit of the show, but we'll talk us through the end of the show. If I don't get an opportunity, welcome to Progressive Soup. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. And we're on the internet on Progressive Soup on Facebook, and Kristen 40, Kristin 40 on YouTube. But continue.
Well, we're talking about the social situation that exists in the United States, and how important it is that everyone have the opportunity to live a rich and fulfilled life.
Get an education if they want.
This is all
healthcare.
Emily, this is what Bernie Sanders is all about.
And it's exciting, That's what this country is all about.
And
the right to life and the life of prosperity.
Yeah, the life of prosperity.
Yeah.